All right, so for this video, we're talking about Objective 2 for the first part of the endocrine system, and we're specifically looking at the glands and the stimulation of hormones. So we're looking to distinguish between the two types of organization of endocrine cells because there are two different types, and we want to identify the major endocrine glands, which what you're going to be doing is using the coloring sheet for that, so I'm not going to go into depth with that piece, and where they're found in the body. So use the coloring page for that or the textbook. And then also we're looking at the three reflex mechanisms of how we regulate the secretion of hormones. So one of the things that you want to note is that glands contain, of course, epithelial tissue, right? So we talked about it way back when that all glands are made of epithelial tissue. So they could be either stratified cuboidal or simple cuboidal. That's kind of what we're thinking here with our glands. And these are going to be the ones that are going to be making and releasing hormones within the endocrine system. So there's two types of endocrine cells. So you can either find them as glands and that are complete endocrine organs that have a solely endocrine function. So they're just going to be secreting hormones and ligands to go ahead and have a steady change in the body, right? So we're thinking the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, the thyroid gland, the parathyroid gland, and the adrenal glands. Those are all going to be specific endocrine organs that have no other function. Then we have the other option of organization, which these are going to be glands, quote unquote, that are clusters of cells in organs that have another function. Okay, so for an example of that would be the hypothalamus, our skin, our thymus, our heart, our liver, our stomach, our pancreas, our small intestine, our adipose connective tissue, kidneys, and our gonads, so the testes and the ovaries. So those are all organs in our body that have specific functions that also have endocrine functions within them. So they're going to have cells in them that are going to be secreting hormones that play an endocrine function, okay? So those are two types of organization. So to identify the structures, you want to go to the coloring page 151, also in the diagnostic and content assessment. You'll find those as well. So there's three reflex mechanisms of hormone synthesis and release. Hormones are going to be regulated and how they're released by reflexes to stimuli. So you're going to have some sort of stimulus that's going to go ahead and tell those glands of the endocrine system to actually release hormones, right? So there's three types. You've got hormonal, humoral, or nervous stimuli, okay? And those are the ones that can initiate our hormone release. So the first one, that's hormonal stimulation. That means that you have a gland cell that's going to release its hormones because there was some other hormone that was released and that bound to that gland and signaled it to go ahead and release its hormones. So it's kind of a cascade, right? We've got one hormone that comes in and stimulates the next one to go ahead and release more hormones. Our next one is the humoral stimulation. This is where a gland is going to release its hormone because there's a change in something in the body. So a change in homeostasis, right? So for example, if we have high blood glucose levels, that's going to go ahead and stimulate our pancreas to release an hormone. Okay, for example, insulin. So you might notice that there's a high level nutrient or a low level nutrient that's going to actually stimulate that hormone. So another example would be the parathyroid hormone when we're talking about calcium levels in the blood. That's going to be another humoral stimulation. So we have a lot of those throughout our body. The last type is the nervous stimulation. So it's going to release its hormone when a neuron stimulates it. So, right, we talked about the nervous and the endocrine system being the primary controllers of our body. They're the control systems of our body, right? So the nervous system and the endocrine system can actually go ahead and talk to each other, right? The nervous system could signal a gland to go ahead and secrete a hormone. And that's it for this Objective 2. You'll want to check my kind of check for understanding questions in the notes.